Hey, Pharmacy Podcast Network listeners, it's so exciting to have you back on the Cannabis Pharmacy University podcast. This is an extremely important subject. I told the story of our guest today, Dr. Jonathan Marquess, who I'm so excited to bring to the podcast through Cannabis Pharmacy University, backed by the Cannabis Pharmacy team down in South Carolina. Josh and Steve, so excited to have you here. Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
I agree, Todd. Happy New Year to you and your network.
Excellent. I'm excited. So there was an article that came out. It was listed December 21st, 2003 from Forbes. It got a ton of attention. I definitely read it probably 6 times and just wanted to understand the intricacies of what they were talking about. And the title of the article is, "Why Did the DEA Warn Georgia Pharmacies Not to Sell Medical Marijuana?" Now, I am not a pharmacist. I've never said I was a pharmacist. I pretend to be one on podcasts, just like actors pretend to be doctors on TV. And I'll tell you this, I know enough about the pharmacology of substances to understand that marijuana and the substances within marijuana are a lot less dangerous than some cancer medications that are out there being prescribed by physicians and then, of course, treatment monitored and managed by our pharmacists. So if I thought any medication that was going into my body was prescribed by my physician and then monitored and managed by my pharmacist, I would be as happy as any pig in mud, knowing that I was being cared for. So right out of the gate, Jonathan, I just want to ask your opinion. Why in the world in 2024 are we stuck where pharmacists and physicians can't use marijuana and cannabis products the way that they see fit based on the needs of a patient?
Well, once again, Todd, thank you for having me. And I'll take one step back, and I must know how it feels, or I guess I know how it feels when an athlete gets to be invited to the Pat McAfee show or to go live on ESPN, because I have been pumped about this all week. When Josh told me about it, because I just love the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And I don't know if I've made it or not, but I've at least made it to the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and I'm excited. 2 years ago, Todd, I got the exciting opportunity to go work for the Georgia Pharmacy Association. I direct their Academy of Independent Pharmacy, which is 400 plus independent pharmacists. And I'm just returning from a 30 pharmacy tour all over the state of Georgia, Northeast, Southwest. And I can tell you there is a lot of great innovative things going on. The reason I put this tour together, as all of you all probably know, is that we've got this DIR hangover going on. Our pharmacy members, our independent pharmacies are getting double hit with DIR fees.
Yep.
The good news, and I'm going to get to your question here. The good news is that a lot of our members are doing things outside of PBM control. One of those, and I got a lot of questions about medical cannabis these last 2 weeks on my tour, but one of the things they're doing is helping their patients with sleep, with pain, with anxiety, with totally legal products that we can dispense right now is over-the-counter CBD. But to answer your question, it's a good one. I will say up front, I went down to the Georgia Capitol in 2017 and testified on this issue. They passed a bill, Haley's Hope Act, in 2019. Our governor signed the bill. The Board of Pharmacy wrote up rules and regulations. And many of our independents, in full disclosure, myself, paid the Board of Pharmacy some dollars, and we're right in the process of starting to dispense medical cannabis. But again, in full transparency, none of our members, Todd, would want to do anything against the DEA.
Yep.
I guess the one wish that I would have had personally is that they would have told me about that back in 2000 and maybe 20 or 19. But we put a lot of effort, a lot of information to our members about it. But I don't really know the answer. I can't speak for the DEA. I will tell you that I've advised all of our members that do not do this until we get some clarity. I do think we're in this pause phase that maybe we could get our Board of Pharmacy, maybe our legislature, maybe the DEA, maybe the Georgia Board of Pharmacy, and have a meeting together and figure out a way that we could do this. But in saying that, I always tell them, do what you can now that is legal: compounding, durable medical equipment, long-term care, CBD. So that was been my focus. So thank you for the question. I hope I answered it a little bit.
You did. You did. Josh and Steve, I want to bring you into the conversation. That is because you have built your entire business on supporting pharmacists in our independent community pharmacies. What kind of stress are we kind of feeling in the markets per se when it comes to legalization and DEA and other things that are happening? How do you guys navigate that and help your clients and your customers, which are right around 700, I believe, using products and services through Cannabis Pharmacy? But talk to us about that.
Thanks, Todd. Josh Kent here, co-founder of the Cannabis Pharmacy with my brother Steve. Thanks so much for having us on the network. Always a joy. And Jonathan, you as well. We worked with you for several years. Busted my butt to earn an opportunity to work in your pharmacy. So thank you for that. And thank you for taking a few minutes to help share with not just our Georgia pharmacists, but pharmacists all over that are having questions about what's legal and what's not legal. And I'll let Steve touch on it just a little bit, but when we started this business back in 2017, we started it with just the idea of helping people have access to cannabis. It wasn't we were going to open this big pharmacy distribution company. It was just two guys in my apartment wanting to help people have cannabis. And it morphed over the years into us working with the pharmacists because we quickly found that the pharmacists took it seriously. They had patients in need of products like this, and that we were able to really connect the dots from the manufacturer to the pharmacist and to the patient, kind of bridging that gap in between. And so for almost 7 years now in February, we've been on a mission to educate pharmacists and medical professionals about cannabis and how to treat their patients and get the best results, but really worked hard to develop relationships that would allow us to help people feel better through their pharmacist. And so, thanks for letting us be a part of that, and you guys being a part of that. There's a lot to do here, but that's why we started this.
Yeah, and really the knowledge, the information, the education are such big aspects of it. As we were kind of touching on before this meeting started, we could have made a lot more money if we were just going around to smoking vape shops and selling any old CBD to them. And power to the people out there that are selling the right products to the right people for the right reasons. But it's not the norm. There is a lot out there that is not lab tested. There's a lot out there that has not had any research done on it. And what we quickly found in the pharmacy community was they, like ourselves, are very data-driven people, and they're here to help. So we kind of found it almost by accident that when we started working with community pharmacists, the translation of the education always saw to the end. The patient always ended up with the correct data, with the correct product. They would come back and they would give feedback to the pharmacist that would help them adjust their dose or adjust to a different product. There was just so much more interaction in a community pharmacy than any other outlet for selling these products that it was really just a no-brainer to us.
And every single one of our 300 products are all hemp derived and federally compliant. So we were easily able to put pharmacists at ease, saying, hey, look, these products are legal. Here's the proof. We have hundreds and hundreds of pharmacies selling them, and to help create that comfort and knowing that these products are available for their patients legally.
So back to kind of poking the bear, Jonathan. In October of 2023, the Georgia Board of Pharmacy started accepting applications for the purpose of granting license, and they chose 23 independent pharmacies in the state to grant those licenses to. And when I think of governors of any of our 50 states kind of structuring why they make the decisions that they do, I feel, based on understanding politics, that a governor is sometimes more sensitive than even the more federal government, because they have their state to be responsible for, from laws and law keeping and safety and all of this stuff. So the decisions that the Georgia state made would have made me felt, as a business owner, more importantly, more specifically community pharmacy owner, that everything was copacetic, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, we get some red flags from the DEA. So your experience, Jonathan, with the state of Georgia, talk to me a little bit about what we can learn from this situation right now so that we can pass this on to other states to prepare for the coming of medical cannabis under the control of physicians and pharmacists.
Yeah. Another great question. Todd, our governor, Brian Kemp, has done a lot of great things, and I've met him many times, and I think he's really done a good job for our citizens. He even came to our GPHA convention 2 years ago, and it was really good. You know, this is something that we don't have enough time for me to tell you how many patients I know this would help, but I've got, believe it or not, one of my landlords, his father-in-law has to go into the clandestine night and meet people behind shopping centers to get cannabis for his seizures. I know children, their parents come to me and they said, the second you get there, I want to get some because, you know, I'm scared that some of the product I get might not be that good. We were the first state. You know, obviously you can grow the product and you can open a store if you're a grower of the product, and there's some limitations there, but we were the first state, Todd, to allow independent pharmacies. And it's good to be a pioneer, but you also take some arrows when you're a pioneer. So we want to follow all the rules. We want to follow all the regs. We want to do what the DEA says. But remember, this is something a lot of people miss. To get medical cannabis, in our Georgia law, you have to go to either a manufacturer store, which they can have 5 per farm right now, or an independent pharmacy. You have to be diagnosed by your physician with one of 17 disease states. You have to get a medical card from the state of Georgia, and then only then can you go and get the product. So I think a lot of people thought we were just going to open this up maybe like recreational. Not at all. And we at GPHA do not support the recreational use. But we do know that patients are in need for these 17 disease states, and we wanted to help them out. And that's why we were doing it.
That's exciting. That means we have 17 podcast episodes that we can easily break this down
Yes.
to, Jonathan. So I can't wait to have you back. But we're setting the stage today. Listeners, this is a shout out to you. This is our pharmacist primarily, but this is also our technicians. If there is anything in your own state that you would like to help uncover, we are badgers. We will never stop. I've been doing this podcast in support of pharmacy since 2009, and I'm going to do it until the day I die. And I'll probably be in a wheelchair with a little microphone hooked up to the, maybe by then they'll embed a microphone like under the side of my mouth. But I'm going to continue to push medical cannabis in the hands of physicians and pharmacists to help people that desperately need it, knowing that these products are so much less dangerous than some of the medications that are legally out there right now, including the opioid category, where you could actually shut your respiratory system down by overdosing, and the next thing you know, you're dead. I don't know if people who have, I mean, I know that there's some extreme cases in overdosing on something that is a cannabis product, but it's really not something that happens hardly at all ever. And so my thought is around pharmacists that are doing titration. They're doing drug-drug interactions. They're doing drug allergy interactions to have the control that they need around cannabis and where it belongs in what disease state that it's assisting is so important. So listeners, a shout out to you. You are our champions, your pharmacists that are out there. Reach out to the pharmacy, the pharmacy podcast network. Reach out to Josh and Steve. We will have their links in the show notes. We will have a link to Jonathan Marquess, Dr. Marquez's LinkedIn profile in the show notes so that you can actually connect with him. Jonathan, please promise me that you'll come back so that we can dig into specific disease state categories, because I want to focus on pain, sleep, anxiety, and I also want to focus on some topical situations to really ease our baby boomers into the usage of cannabis, because we have to demystify it, and it's not the devil's grass. We need to demystify that it is a usable medication.
Well, Todd, I will be looking for that invite because, like I said before, this has been a highlight of my year already to be on the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and I look forward to being back. But you actually nailed it. And what I would say to your listeners is, work with your state pharmacy association, because who better to talk to a patient? You already know there are other medications that they're taking. They're over-the-counter medications.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who better to talk to them about CBD products, medical cannabis, and any medication for that matter, is the community pharmacist. So I commend you for having this again.
Thank you so much, Josh.
And Todd, I wanted
Thank you so much.
I wanted to throw something in, Todd, real quick before we go. I know we just have maybe one more minute here. Jonathan, thank you so much. I want to just make sure that every listener and all pharmacists know we use the word cannabis because it is a cannabis plant. But many of the products that we sell do not create drowsiness or intoxication or a high. When people say medical cannabis, it's a combination of the plant. And so I just want a lot of listeners to know that we have a ton of the patients of our doctors and pharmacists that take cannabis products that help them with that sleep, that pain, that anxiety, digestion, migraines, the whole list of it, that are non-intoxicating, that cause no drowsiness, no high, but really work with the synergy of our body to help in those areas. And so I want to just make that point because we commonly think about cannabis and people maybe get confused that there are some non-drowsy formulations that we use that really, really help people. That is CBD.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Josh. And I've been a pharmacy owner for 30 years now, Todd. I know I don't look it, but I've been working with Josh and Steve since 2018. There's so many things that a patient needs that your company can help, and we do appreciate your support to the industry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Calvin.
My favorite product is the roll-on. It has no psychotropic effect whatsoever, but it definitely affects within regards to the pain. That is available at cannabispharmacy.com. I want to shout out to the listeners. If you use code PPN20, that's PPN 20, when you're checking out in your order through Cannabis Pharmacy, you will get 20% off your order. Please go out and try some of these products yourself. I'd start with a roll-on because if you are we know pharmacists in our retail community space, how much you are on your feet, how your ankles hurt, how your calves hurt. Roll that thing on at like 7 o'clock at night. And then you go to sleep 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I tell you, you'll sleep better that night. And call me if you don't.
Yeah, call Todd, not us.
All right.
Thanks, Todd. Thank you, Dr.
Appreciate you,
Marquess.
gentlemen.
Yes, we look forward to more information to share with all of our listeners.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
Friday.
Yeah.